Jane was raised in a Christian home, and when she graduated high school, she went to a Christian school, and she was a singer. She loved singing. She was encouraged by the faculty on campus to try out for all the different singing groups, and she did, and she didn't make any of them, but they just kept encouraging her that you're good, but just you'd get better. And so she just sang around campus, off campus, and she kind of developed this kind of small following. Had some reasonable success there just as a professional singer. After doing that for a couple of years, she moved back to Ohio just to kind of like regroup and just kind of get off the road, and she met a man, and he was a musician as well. They fell in love, they got married, and Jane said that, kind of an artist way, she said, I want to be a truth teller, I want to be a hope holder, I want to be a strength sharer. That sounds very poetic, right? This is very much like a song. Jane wanted to be a star. She wanted people to be able to see her, and as a Christian, she said, I want people to be able to see me and hear my voice and say, oh my gosh, how amazing is God? And then she developed a stage 3 breast cancer. She went through all the chemo. After a year, she was declared cancer-free. I'd get back to life now, was the thought. But a month or 3 later, they found the cancer had come back, but not just breast cancer, also on her spine and her lungs. And doctors gave her a 2% chance of living. Jane, as a unique young woman, she said, okay, 2% is not a lot, but it's more than 0%. A couple days after this, her husband of 5 years left her. Here's Jane, cancer all over her body, abandoned. She heard about experimental treatment out in California, so she said, why not try it? And she went out to California, and what'd she say? She said, after the doctor told me I was dying, and after the man I married said he didn't love me anymore, I chased a miracle in California, and 16 weeks later, I got it. Cancer was gone. But when my brain caught up with it all, something broke. She said, I later found out that all the tragedy at once had caused a physical head trauma. My brain was now sending false signals of excruciating pain and panic. So she goes on to say, I spent 3 months propped against the wall. On nights that I could not sleep, I laid in the tub like an insect, staring at my reflection in the shower knob. I vomited until I was hollow. I rolled up under my robe on the tile. The bathroom floor became my place to hide, where I could scream and be ugly, where I could sob and spit and eventually doze off, happy to be asleep even with my head on the toilet. To behold the face of Jesus is not a romanticized face of Jesus. To truly behold the face of Jesus means we have to look at a cradle that was in a cave. To behold the face of Jesus means we have to look at the body that was on a cross. Because here's the thing, we can say, behold the man, and we do. We look upon him, we look upon his gaze, but there's this other word, to behold and to be held. This is the secret for the Christian life in so many ways. To behold God, and to behold what it costs him to love us, but also to be held by him. The problem is I'm not willing to do either sometimes. The problem is I'm not willing to take the time to behold him. I don't have room to behold him. I can't be bothered to behold him. And then also, I'm too ashamed to be held by him. I'm too broken to be held by him. Jane, she said, I've had cancer 3 times now, and I'm barely past 30. She says, there are times when I wonder what I must have done to deserve such a story. She said, I fear sometimes that when I die and meet God, that he'll say I disappointed him, or offended him, or I failed him. Maybe he'll just say that I never learned the lesson, or that I wasn't grateful enough. But one thing I know for sure is this, he can never say that he did not know me. Why? She says, because I'm God's downstairs neighbor, banging on the ceiling with a broomstick. I show up at his door every day, sometimes with songs, sometimes with curses, sometimes with apologies, sometimes with gifts, sometimes questions, sometimes demands, and sometimes I use my key under the mat to let myself in, and other times I sulk outside until he opens the door to me himself. And she lets herself be held. She wanted people to see her and say, oh my gosh, she's amazing. How great is God? 2 summers ago, Jane went on America's Got Talent, and she sang her song that she had written about her life and about the Lord and about being God's downstairs neighbor. When the panel of judges got done listening to her, Simon said, I'm sorry, I can't send you to the next round. And he leaned all the way across the desk and he sent her all the way to the final round. Gave her the golden buzzer. The next day, Jane had the #1 song in the world on iTunes. It's been downloaded millions of times. Not only is Jane's music out in the world, Jane's story is out into the world. And people asked her about it, and she said this. She said, Jane, you're a star now. People all know your name, and they all know about God because of you. And the irony wasn't lost on her. She said, I thought it would be sparklier than this. She said, I didn't imagine standing before the world with so many bruises. I didn't expect that my shining moment, I'd be suffering in front of an audience. Jane died last summer. But before she died, she said this. She said, I did get a miracle, just not the one I wanted. I get to look for the light and find it. I get to see how much love can endure. And I get to walk the journey with thousands of people like me who can't stop hoping no matter how hard they try. How can someone live like that? How can someone die like that? There is only one way. And it's not by being superhuman. It's not by being scar-free. It's not by having no suffering. It's about saying, okay, God, in my suffering, I'm going to take time to behold you. And in my shame, I'm going to let myself be held by you. God declares, I know you. You are beautiful and broken. God declares his love over you. You're worth what it costs me to love you. God is closest to us in our pain. But if we're too busy, if we're just moving too fast, then we'll miss out on the entire point of life, which is you didn't lose your beauty when you got broken. You didn't cease to be good when everything broke. But you and I will never be whole unless we let God into the brokenness, until we behold his gaze and let ourselves be held in his arms. Amen.